Hey everybody, and thanks for watching Woodcrest Bonsai. Today I'm going to work on these three Carissa. Carissa glandiflora, also called natal plum, although I think the correct pronunciation is natal plum, but I almost always call them Carissa anyway. And all three of these trees need a lot of work. All three of them have some major flaws. The first one on the left, as you can see, just has a massive amount of dead. All the branches that have elongated have all died, but there is still live growth that has popped interior. And since most of the time when you're trimming bonsai, especially in the early stages, entails letting things grow out and then cutting them way back, we just got Mother Nature doing it for us. The second one, and I will feature these each individually, is just in the totally wrong position. I have no idea how it got so turned around, but it's literally 90 degrees off. And then the third one, which is in a much bigger pot, and this bigger tree, is really just overgrown. It has a little bit of dead, but for the most part, it's in better shape than the other two. So let's start. Oh, and I've also decided to give each of the smaller trees a little bit bigger pot. Just another step up, not a huge transition, but just a little bit different pot. So let's get rid of these two. And we'll start on this guy here. So, man, oh man, oh man. Well, one thing about having all this dead growth is it's a fairly simple process to figure out what you need to cut off. So, cut off everything that looks dead. You know, some of these lower limbs look completely dead. So the apex looks completely dead. Going to switch to concave cutters for that one. And this tree is a perfect example of two things. Number one is my ability to neglect my bonsai, which I am not proud of. And number two is the amazing resilience of Carissa. All right, so right away, oops, I forgot this little tiny piece right here. Oh, that, well, I was going to root prune it and take it out of the pot, so okay, there we go. Now, as far as the structure of the tree, it's actually not bad. I'm going to take off this knob, which used to be the apex. And I have the feeling that this branch is also entirely dead, so it's coming off too. So we're basically starting over with this tree. Although that is not uncommon for me. Even healthy trees. Big part of the way I grow bonsai is to let them grow way out and then chop them way back. So I did that with this one. It's just that the stuff that I let grow out ended up all dying. So now I want to put it in a little bit bigger pot. So I think I'm going to use this guy. It's just about the same width. It's just a little bit longer. And I'm going to use my window screen. This pot is big enough where it has 2 drain holes, so just one piece of window screen will fill that in. And then take this guy out of the pot for real. And I just watered yesterday, which is why it's so wet. Oh, there's some more window screen. But that can go with the old pot. It was too small to cover both drain holes. Poor thing. But because I've grown Carissa for a long time, I'm very confident this thing is going to resprout and just pop with all kind of new stuff. So I think that looks pretty good. And I'm really not going to really focus on the styling of this tree. Obviously, it's an informal upright. It would be a beautiful thing. It could get some growth out here for the first main branch, which it had and died. So, you know, that's all my fault. So I'm going to plant it a little bit more like that, which means I'm going to take this root off here. Okay. And then get my soil. I think this hospital tray is beginning to finally wear out. Thanks, Dad. My dad lived with me for 2.5 years before he died. And oh boy, he was in and out of the hospital. And every time you go, they give you your toilet. They pretend to give it to you. And then it shows up on the final bill. But I probably shouldn't go there. Alright, there we go. Number 1. And I think it will do just fine. So we're going to put him out of the way. And let's do number 2. Now number 2 is just plain weird. Can I zoom in a little? I think I probably could. I mean, this is the front of the pot. This is the longest side of the pot. And look at the way the tree is moving. It's either straight to the back, or if this is the front, it's just pointing straight at you. I mean, as far as the tree is concerned, this is the front, and yet it's totally 90 degrees. And I have no idea how that even happened. But it did, so it's time to rectify it. Now, this is much healthier than the last one, but it needs all of this excess growth all removed. We do have some dead spots. And already I'm looking at a tree that comes like this. Let me take it out of the pot. Okay, tree comes up into here. Here's the apex. Pretty heavy first main branch. The back branch is also very heavy. So we are going to completely turn this guy around. As far as the front, I don't think I need any of these 2 very low branches at all. And then we have this branch here, which is coming out of the crook, and I don't think I need that either. I could conceivably bring this guy down like that. And I really am not happy with how big this is. But we have some little growth down in here. So let's just take it and chop it. If we're going to chop it, let's do it. There, much better. And let's look at how far down or far up into the pot the screen is. Crazy. And Carissa's are a very tropical tree. If you're up north and you're thinking I might want one of those, you're going to have to give it some major cold protection in the winter. Since I live in Zone 10 in the US, and you just never know how. This isn't a very coarse bonsai mix. I typically don't use a bonsai mix this coarse. Alright, there's the screen, and the old pot goes off to the side, and the new pot is here. And we are totally changing the aspect of this tree. I mean, it used to be like this, and now we're going to change it like this. So that's going to require some more root pruning. You know, and I use the word tough to describe some trees. Also, probably a very good description would be resilient. So these guys are tough plants, and they're very resilient, except to cold. It's very interesting because most tropical trees are tough plants. They can take a lot of abuse and still continue to live. So there we go. Does that look like a tree? I think it does. You know what? I don't like this. So that comes off. I have this guy here that can be the back branch. If we're starting over, let's start over for real. Oh God, I'm always hitting the camera. All right, there we go. So now, God, I hit the camera again. I can't believe. I think I'm much more frustrated with my poor video quality than I am with how some of the trees I have abused. Sometimes I wonder how people do it where they don't get in the way, where they don't have their elbow pointing right at the camera. Okay, now let's go back to what we were doing. Except since I'm right-handed, this is much easier for me. Okay. There we go. It looks so completely different than when I started with it. And then we have the last one. Should I clean up the debris? The last one is obviously going to be another slanting trunk, or is another slanting trunk. It has some dead right here. This is all dead. Do I need to zoom out? I don't think I need to. Especially after I chop it all back. So, once again, chop this sucker back. kind of some bizarre semi-cascade branches, which I really don't think I want. Get the cascade cutters. Let's take that whole thing off. Carissa also has a milky sap similar to jasmine. Actually, it is related to a plant called Confederate jasmine, which has some incredibly nasty milky sap. Alright, there we go. I'm going to change the angle of it. Probably should have zoomed out a little bit. So I'm going to take it out of the pot. It's going to go back into the same pot, but I'm going to change the angle more like that. So maybe I should zoom out. Get rid of all this stuff so we can tell what's attached to the tree and what isn't. So there we go. I mean, you can see if we look from this being the front, it goes way too far forward. So I'm going to bring it up like that, which will mean fairly heavy root pruning on one side. And the window screen came out with no problem, back into the pot. I want the tree to be about like that. So I need to chop all this stuff out of here. And then I need to take this edge like this here, chop it like that. Then give it the normal about 10 to 20% all the way around the perimeter. So how's it looking? That looks pretty good. And of course, through the magic of wire, I could bring the apex up a little bit more like that. Like that. Right now, I'm just trying to give them some rejuvenation. This one certainly was got a huge knob there, so I'm going to reduce that tremendously. Much nicer. Not sure why that guy's there either, but for now he's going to stay. Something like that. I'm really not sure why I put these guys into the much larger grain bonsai soil when I first potted them up into these small pots. That's typically not what I do. And one day I'll remember my chopstick. Okay. take this closer in like that too. Right, there we go. We definitely need some come out into here, but we have a first main branch. Definitely a slanting trunk, but I think it too can end up being a nice tree. Now the thing to do is to actually take care of them. Like I said, these are very resilient plants, so I'm going to water them in immediately. Then when I begin to see new growth, I'll give them some fertilizer. And in just a few months, they will have sprouted back out and be well on their way to being very interesting bonsai. So let's put them back in the order where they were. So we have a little bit of a before and after. And then this guy. And then this guy. Okay. So 3 Carissa. All with some major modification. However, I think they all have nice potential. So if you've got plants that are like way overgrown and you're like, man, why did I let this thing do this? I don't see it as a huge issue, because you can always take them back to the basics and then regrow new branching. Each one of these got a completely different angle of growth, especially this one, since it was literally 90 degrees off. Brought this one much further up. This one I brought up this way. So I think they're going to be okay. I have some Carissa in the ground that are like just amazing. You know, they never thicken up. Even after 20 years, your trunk might be, you know, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, because they just don't thicken. And so I'm not really concerned about massive thick trunks with the ones I have in the ground, just to give them some more development. And some of them are very interesting trees. But for these 3, that's it for this video. And if you've already subscribed, then you'll be able to watch these guys continue to develop every time I post a new video on how they're growing. And if you're new, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and you can watch these guys rejuvenate and become much nicer trees. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you're a real beginner, you know, don't despair if you have trees that are a little bit overgrown and you're not quite sure what to do with them. Just cut them way back, and then do your best to style them the way you think, you know, which many times can entail changing the angle of the tree, changing the direction of the tree, changing a lot of things, cutting off a lot of major branches and just leaving a skeleton. But all 3 of these trees are not going to benefit so much more from the reduction of all the growth. And of course, the one on the left, the growth, quote unquote, was all dead anyway. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment if you'd like. And I will see you in the next video.